So I've had some questions about how to find probabilities if you toss a coin 3 times. So what I did is I went ahead and listed all the possible outcomes so that we could talk about this. So if I toss a coin 3 times, one possible outcome would be I have no tails and all 3 would be heads. So this would be the first toss, the second toss, and the third toss. Then you could have the possibility of 1 tail or 2 heads. So the first one is going to be the first toss, then this would be the second toss, and then this would be the third toss. So you could have tails, heads, 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 tails, or heads, tails, heads. Okay, and then I went through and I listed all of them. And then here, of course, is if you get all 3 tails. Once you have them all listed out, you can then figure out what the probability is. So if I want to find the probability of getting 3 heads, the only place that that's a possibility is right here, right? So that's 1 out of 8 possible outcomes, because if you count up all of these, I get 8. So it's 8 possible outcomes. So if I want to find the probability of 2 tails, I have 3 possible outcomes for getting 2 tails, right? That would be these right here. So I could have heads, tails, tails, heads the first time, and then tails on the last 2 tosses. Or I could have tails on the first toss, heads on the second, tails on the third. Or I could have tails, tails, and then heads. So this would be 3 out of 8 possible outcomes. So once you figure out what your sample space is and how many possible outcomes you have, it makes it a lot easier to figure out what the probabilities are. Now you can figure out all the possible outcomes from a counting tree too. So if you make your counting tree, you can count up all the possible outcomes.